Welcome. In the world of pharmaceuticals, you hear a lot of acronyms thrown around, but there are three that are absolutely critical: QA, QC, and QMS. Now, a lot of people use them interchangeably, and honestly, that's a huge mistake that can cause some serious problems. So today, we're going to untangle them once and for all. Let's break down what they really mean, and why getting them right isn't just important, it's everything.
So, what's the big deal? Why does this matter so much? Well, it's because when you get these terms mixed up, accountability just evaporates. And in the pharma industry, we're not talking about a simple oopsie. This confusion is one of the top reasons companies fail critical audits. So yeah, getting this right is fundamental to patient safety and, frankly, to keeping the lights on.
All right, let's dive into the first piece of the puzzle. We're going to start with the folks on the front lines of quality. This is quality control, or as I like to call them, the testers. These are your hands-on people, the scientists in the lab coats.
So QC's entire world revolves around one thing: testing. They're the ones in the lab, pulling samples from raw materials, checking products as they're being made, and running those crucial final tests on the finished goods. Their job is to answer one super specific question. Does this sample right here in my hand meet the specs we set for it? They are the data generators. All the raw numbers, the hard facts, it all starts with them.
Okay, so QC gives us the data. But data is just numbers on a page until someone figures out what it all means, right? Well, that brings us to our second group, quality assurance. These are the reviewers. They're the ones who take a step back and look at the bigger picture.
QA isn't looking through a microscope. They're looking at the whole story. They take that data from QC, for sure, but they also dig into the entire batch record. They're the ones who write and approve the standard operating procedures, the rule book for how everything gets done. And when something goes wrong, they manage that too. And at the end of the day, QA makes the final critical call. Looking at everything, can we safely release this entire batch? It's a huge responsibility.
Let's just put this side by side because it makes it super clear. On one side, you've got QC. They are in it. They're testing, they're verifying, they're generating the data, and they're asking, did this specific thing pass the test? Then on the other side, you have QA. They're focused on the process, on the documents. They review the data and they ask a much bigger question. Can we release this whole batch? So one makes the data, the other makes the decision. Testers versus reviewers.
So we have the testers in QC and the reviewers in QA. But what rulebook are they both playing by? Who decides what the specs even are, or how a review should be done? That brings us to the most important piece of the entire puzzle, the Quality Management System, or QMS. This isn't a team. This is the whole system.
And this is the part you really have to get. The QMS is not another department down the hall. It is the rulebook. It's the entire framework, the whole philosophy, the collection of all the procedures that controls everything about quality. It tells QA and QC how they have to do their jobs. It's the boss of both of them.
A great way to think about it is this. The QMS is like the constitution for quality at your company. It lays down all the fundamental laws and principles. And QA and QC, they're like different branches of the government. They have their own specific jobs to do, but they always have to operate within the laws of that constitution.
Okay, so why all the fuss about having this big, overarching system? I mean, can't you just have a great QC lab and a sharp QA team and just call it a day? Well, no, not if you want to stop making the same mistakes over and over again.
And this, right here, is the heart of the matter. You could have the most brilliant scientists in QC and the most meticulous reviewers in QA, but if a problem pops up and all you do is fix that one batch, what's to stop the exact same thing from happening again next week? Without a QMS, a system to analyze why it failed and then change the process, you're just stuck on a hamster wheel, constantly putting out the same fires.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. This is straight from the regulator's playbook. They are not interested in hearing that you fixed one bad batch. No way. When they show up to audit, they want to see how you updated your system to make sure that failure can never, ever happen again. They audit the system, not just the single event.
So, when you boil it all down, it's about a huge shift in mindset. It's the difference between being a really good firefighter who's great at putting out flames and being an architect who designs a building that's so fireproof the fires just don't start in the first place. It's about moving from being reactive to being truly proactive.
So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. Take a hard look at how things are done where you work. Is your quality system just a collection of Band-Aids for today's problems? Or is it a real, robust immune system that's built to prevent tomorrow's? The answer to that question changes everything. Thanks for tuning in.